Hey everybody, welcome to this edition of Marketing Monday. I have Bill's hat, but I'm not Bill Faeth. I'm Chris Wharton, for those of you who I haven't had a chance to meet yet. And today Bill is actually traveling. He is working on an incredible property that I can't wait to show you more about. We'll do some more content for photography, which I'm actually going to be there shooting later this week. But I have a special guest with me today. Um, Now is an interesting time. One of the biggest struggles, we just came off of a week of boot camps in Dallas and Los Angeles, and we kept hearing the same struggle from a bunch of people. um, Financially, how do you get going and move the needle as properties slow down, as you're trying to scale? How do you really get to a place where you're gaining more money, where you're able to get more profit? And one of the best ways to do that is actually to co-host, because you take a lot of your best skills, the marketing, all those aspects of it, the actual hosting process, but you don't have the risk of having the property. And so where do you get started? How do you find hosting clients? What do you use to do schedule appointments and create lead magnets and all the other marketing things we've talked about on Marketing Mondays that you do for your properties? You can do the same thing for your co-hosting business. So I have a special guest. I'm excited to bring him in. Scott from Markham STR. What I love, and we talked about this, I think, the last time you were on here. I'm gonna do my best to be Bill but not be Bill. So I'll cut you off. I'm gonna try and be nice about it. Um, because that's sometimes Bill he gets excited and he likes to do a lot of the talking, and I'm usually the other way around. I like to do a lot of the listening, but that's okay. We'll have some fun today. But what I love about Markham STR is, of all the potential software platforms, things out there, the problem always is nothing's built for us, for a specific industry, right? And you're like, yeah, I could take all these little things, this thing here or there, this CRM over here, this social platform over there, this landing page creator over here. And yeah, I can make stuff work, but I have to be the one putting all the effort in. And the problem with a lot of the people that are watching today is that they aren't specialists in landing pages and content creation, all this kind of stuff. And that's why I love. Actually, I'm really excited to hear, because I've seen bits and pieces, but I haven't seen the full thing today. Of what you've built inside of Markham STR to really help co-hosts with the acquiring, the finding, and even the co-hosting itself process. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, and I'll do my best to keep us on track and on pace, and pull the bill as much as I can. But I really am excited to hear kind of what's been built inside of Marketing STR and kind of how that can help all those out there who are really diving into co-hosting.
Yeah, so I'm going to assume everybody knows us. I know we're inside your community. I'm not going to introduce myself overly, take too much time there. Very, very quick story how I know Chris and Bill. We have a software marketing company. We landed Grant Cardone as a client. We're standing on the side of a soccer field, Bill and I, because our daughters are on the same soccer team. We tell each other what we do, and I tell Bill that we've got Grant Cardone as a client. He turns and shows me a picture of his phone with Grant in front of his private plane. He tells us they're looking for a solution, just like you said, something specific for the community that you guys have, not some solution with, I won't mention the software companies that charge $1,500, $2,000 for the same thing we offer, but something not only a lot more affordable, but also as good, and customized, where we're listening to you guys. You're coaching us on the strategies. We're making sure the software works. And here we are. We've got almost 400 short-term rental owners as clients, a mix of those between people who self-manage, people who want some help. And we have a couple solutions partners like STR Digital that help us with people who'd rather have it done for them. And then we also have this group of growing co-hosts that, when we talk about our DNA, this is what gets me fired up. When we came to Bill, we designed a custom solution that the software that we provided you guys out of the gate was, as you know, a part of the technology we can bring to bear. Several core technologies inside this massive elephant of a platform that we have. And until now, sitting on the sidelines were these powerful technologies like calendars and pipelines and all this stuff that now, because a co-host strategy has been built out over the last 6 months with a group of beta users that are in your guys' group. Now here we are unveiling this what we call STR Host Marketer Pro, which is this entire strategy sitting on top of software that is designed to help you, like I said, really take advantage of our entire DNA as a company, Market My Co, which is kind of the sister company to Market My STR deal. And that's us. That's here we are. So it's how can we, and our DNA is, I wrote a book recently and published it called The 5 Secret Laws of Marketing and Sales Dominance, right? And it's when you're a small business owner, how do you dominate lead generation, or how do you get control of lead generation, lead management, lead conversion, client experience, and client leverage? So this is that attempt to help co-host manage those 5. They turn out to be problems for business owners. You know, how do we consistently generate leads? How do we consistently manage a leads, not let them fall through the cracks? How do we consistently convert them? And then how do we use technology to maintain a client experience that's unlike anybody else's? And then finally, how do we get leverage? How do we ask for referrals? How do we ask for reviews so that we can maximize? So Chris, I don't even know if that answered your question, but that is what's led us to right now.
No, I think you hit it on the head. And I know a lot of people are going to be watching this. And from early on, I would always tell people, like, why Markham STR, especially because we've had years of history with some of the other specific landing page builders and other stuff like that. I would always tell people that my best comparison is OwnerRez, because a lot of people have been inside of OwnerRez.
Yeah.
That the average person uses a fraction of OwnerRez's capabilities because it's so well built and robust. But because of that, a lot of people don't get to the fringe outside things that have a ton of power with them. Same thing with Markham STR, that we've been talking about the core elements because that's the stuff that most people use. But there's been these unbelievably powerful fringe CRM pipelines, even a lot of the automation that we haven't really talked a whole lot about because it's harder to trigger and there isn't as much of a need for it in the traditional hosting. But in the co-hosting, it really helps that the whole process, because you just have to switch your mind as a co-host from I'm not just the hosting a property. That's a part of it. You want to have incredible guest experience and everything for them, because if you co-host well, you're going to make more money doing it that way. But you have to also remember you have to acquire these co-host clients. You have to go through that whole process of sales that you may have never had to do before, because it's a lot different. Before, you're buying your own property, you're hosting it yourself. We teach people how to do that all the time. But now you're having to show why you are the better solution over the Evolves of the world and all the other the platforms and the people that do a very crappy job at co-hosting out there or property managing. Why are you better? And that's a sales process. And when you have a sales process in there, things can get complicated. Things can get lost in the whole pipeline process when you're not really thinking about it. We're human, so we forget to follow up with people. We forget to answer emails. And so I'm excited. Let's hop in. Let's start showing them kind of what's been built, what's in there for them. Those of you wanting to take advantage of co-hosting using Markham STR.
Yeah, and before we get into it, I wanted to answer the question, why us? And when I say why us, I mean collectively. Why the community of Bill, you and Bill's community plus Market My STR. And the reason is there's 4 S's that over the last 25 years of me building businesses online and doing marketing online, there are 4 S's. You may have heard me say this before, but is first, software. Software has to be dependable and usable. Secondly, strategies. And I want to make sure that I don't miss this point. We have built this co-hosting strategy as a complement to Bill's co-hosting masterclass course. So first off, I would recommend that if you're going to want to get moving in co-hosting, consider that course as a complement to this, because we don't go into telling you all the details that Bill does in the course. So that's really important. So it's like we are complementing that strategy and placing that strategy on top of our software. The third thing is the support. We die trying. We have a staff of 13 people. You can always reach out to Chris and Bill when you need a question about a specific co-hosting question mark, especially if you're in the inner circle, that kind of thing. But it's software, it's strategies, it's support, and then it's the subscriber. If the subscriber doesn't do their part, I mean, this is all just going to sit there and do nothing. So that's why you work with us, is because I'm not a software guy. I've heard about co-hosting. I'm like, I'm going to create this strategy that has no bearing on reality. It's not based on experiences Bill has had and learned from with contracts and everything else. And that's what makes this so leverageable. So would you like me to share my screen, Chris, and kind of get into it?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me see, present. Let me see how share screen options I have. Okay, I'm gonna try to share a window because I think it's gonna be easier. Instead of, in the past, I've done full screen and it's not very visually. Can you see the Market My Co logo?
Yep.
Okay, this is the presentation I did for your co-host pod in the inner circle 2 weeks ago. I'm gonna let this one go and do more of the presentation demo inside the platform, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what I'm going to take you through is ways that if you're watching this video, you can get a little bit more detail. So if you wanted to get the presentation that I did, if you go to Market My STR and just click on demo, in these demos that we offer, you can scroll down and there is a co-hosting demo here. This is the full demo I did for Bill's Inner Circle, which maybe is a great advertisement for everybody should be getting in the Inner Circle, but it's also going to share in detail why and some additional stuff that the presentation covers that we're not going to cover. We're just going to cover demo stuff. So that's one place to get some reinforcement. And then here's let's just get into the dashboard. So we've created a demo account called Crazy Good Rentals. And so what we're doing here is start to finish. How can we help you generate leads? How can we help you manage them? How can we help you convert them consistently? How can we help create client leverage or client experience where possible? And how can we help you leverage your clients into more clients? So let's first talk about lead generation. We have been online. We've learned. We've spent, as you guys have, tens of thousands of dollars working with marketers to find ways to consistently generate leads. And the best stuff we've ever found is in two places. One is a guy named Dennis Yu who does $1 a day strategy. And it's this awareness, consideration, conversion is what he calls it. We call it know, like, and trust. But it starts with a 45-second video. So let's imagine, Chris, you want to co-host in the Panhandle area. What we would be coaching you through is to use our no video framework. This is a 45-second video framework where you would do something like this. Hey, my name is Chris Wharton. 15 years ago, we started coming down to Destin with our family, and we just could not find the right place. And as we continue to come down and look for the right place, we just decided the way to get the right place was to buy our own place. So we bought our own place. We knew we wanted to be investment opportunity because we wanted to take advantage of depreciation, acceleration, all that stuff that you get by having a rental. And we figured it out. And we started having success on Airbnb and VRBO. And then at that point, we perfected the process and decided we want to get away from what we're doing now, our W-2s, and we want to get fully into real estate. So let's try helping others maximize their investment too. And that's when we got into co-hosting. And if that's how you feel about your rental property that you own, then give us a call. And that video, literally for a couple dollars a day, you can run that video in that market and you can start to have people know who you are. So know, like, and trust in terms of, okay, let's check the box on how are we going to consistently generate leads and get people to know who we are. That's what we teach. So that would be the first element. That's not necessarily part of the platform, but because it's so important, then we teach you how to start that process. And then that really bleeds into where we can help. So when you do that no video, you may also combine it with a, hey, what we learned are 10 secrets to really optimizing the way you get the most out of your investment. And if you'd like to see those 10 secrets or those 10 things we've learned, 10 lessons learned, then click here and you can get our free lead magnet. So what we've done is we've created a bunch of lead magnet templates. So that's the first place where we start to help in that lead generation, or I guess technically the second place, because we're talking about how to help you create those videos. Should I keep going or do you want to interrupt?
No, I think that I don't want to. I hope everyone goes back and watches this. I'm going to send a recap email after. I think, well, we haven't done that for a Marketing Monday in a long time. I think there's just so much.
Yeah.
I'm taking notes on my my little rocket notebook over here.
Okay.
Because that framework is so useful, not just for this, but for any time that you're speaking to anyone and you're trying to get them to know, you're trying to make that connection, and those 4 steps along the way, whether you're co-hosting or whether you're trying to get someone interested in the property, the point of the whole thing is that you're telling enough of a story to get them hooked, but you're hitting the pain point and a solution to the pain point. And so the same thing works for if you have a normal property. There's a reason why you put certain things in the property, because they're pain points people have, and they're your solutions to those pain points. Same thing for the co-hosting. And I know we haven't talked a lot, and it gets so easy for us. I keep telling Bill all the time that we have the curse of knowledge of because we're marketers, and so we say things sometimes. So before we get too deep, I also want to circle back. A lead magnet, we haven't talked about these a ton because they can get super complicated. But a lead magnet in the end is something you give in exchange for an email. And so you collect their email, and then in exchange for that email, you give them a PDF, a download, a training. I'm sure a lot of you have seen, the DTI calculator we have, the pro forma, even Bill's 550, 250 training. Those are quote unquote lead magnets, in that you give us your email, and in exchange, we give you a valuable piece of content. One of the platforms we live on is we want to give, because the more you give as of your education, of yourself, the more you earn the right to then sell later, because people build a relationship for you, and then they begin to trust you that you actually know what you're talking about, so that they come to you as an expert and not just someone who kind of knows what's going on. So I'm loving what I'm seeing already, and I'm excited to get into the lead magnet side, because it's something we haven't talked a ton about, but it's an incredible, powerful part of this. But also, you can do the exact same thing for those of you who are like, how does this relate to my normal rental? I don't co-host at all. You do the exact same thing for your property. The 5 secret restaurants only locals know in Gulf Shore. Exact same stuff, just slightly tweaked, and it's the same kind of process. So I'm loving where we're going.
Yeah. So that is like, let's sort of check the box. People can say you haven't checked it hard enough, but we're just demoing this. So there's a lot more depth to this stuff, but I just want to hit the high points of, okay, let's check the boxes on showing them that, yes, those 5 laws, those 5 marketing laws, we are addressing the best we can with technology and your guys' experience in this industry. So we're combining all this stuff, which is, again, I think what makes it so uniquely powerful for the group that's watching this video, our demo. So it's lead generation involves getting attention, and then getting people to like you, and then getting people to trust you, like you just said at the end. How much trust do you have to earn for them to part with their asset? And their asset is their information. Your asset is your knowledge. Our asset is our knowledge, and we're trying to trade those things. So we get to this point, and you say it. You and I always are probably guilty of this. It's like we assume they know, and they don't. Just like I'm not sure a brain surgeon assumes I know how to do brain surgery. That's probably where they're better than us. They're probably like, "Now these guys had no idea." At times we take for granted that people know the stuff we know, and most times they probably don't. But the old adage that you and I both know, like in our sleep, is you can't ask someone to marry you on the first date, or the first. In even worse, you can't ask someone to marry you at first sight, and that's unfortunately where most business owners, they're just guilty of that. They expectations. Man, this is so good. I am so good. If they would just trust me right out of the gate, and no one does that. And so that's why this is what it is. It's the why behind lead generation. So when you generate a lead, you have to manage it. And that's part of our DNA too. It's like, so in this framework is how to manage leads. And I know in talking to you and Bill, the classic way of co-hosting is finding a way to get a name of a property local to you, or one you see, and skip trace the name, and then you got to do all this. How am I going to get in contact with them and all that stuff? So if that's what you're doing, then that's a real option inside our platform too. So I want to demonstrate that. And sometimes our app is the most valuable thing there is. So if I go into my app here, and I'm going to go as fast as I can, then using the app, if let's say I get access to a name, let's say I'm having lunch down in Destin. I'm you, because you're the guy now who owns Crazy Good Rentals co-hosting, and you're sitting at a table and you start talking to a guy, happens to be a vacation rental owner. He's like, I'm tired of managing this property. I'd love to own it, just own it, but I don't want to manage it because I can't figure out how to get people to stay there. Then, well, hey, I'm Chris. I own a co-hosting business. Would you like to talk? He goes, yeah, I got to run. My family's wanting me to go, sailing, but yeah, let me get your info. So I get my app out and I go ahead and hit the lightning bolt and I add a contact. So I'm going to add your name, but I'm going to add my info so I can get it. So this is where the demo gets a little stale. So maybe you can talk for a second.
And we don't talk a ton. I think a lot of people think Markham STR as the web portion of it, because that's a lot of what we show. But honestly, those of you who have been in it, the app portion of it, especially when it comes to this side where you can hook the phone number into it, the text messaging, the live chat, all that comes to the app, and you have the ability to manage and communicate just as easily from your own device as you do from a desktop. That's one of the really important things in the very early stages when we were starting to talk about what is, Market My STR, Market My Co capable of in the long run. I'm the person that has 3 screens and I'm in this room 90% of the time if I'm working on something. Bill's the person who lives off of this thing because that's where he lives, and being able to use both interchangeably is such a huge part of why we love the software. But also I want people to think that the only way to do things is in the web portal. Like, the app is beyond powerful to help communicate, manage, and do things on the fly from wherever you are.
Yeah, so I've entered your information, and now what you're going to notice, if I go to contacts, I've got my first lead. I've got, we're confusing a little bit inside the demo, and I'm going to go ahead and let me go ahead and I'm going to be the client. You're the co-hosting, so I'm going to put my name. That's a better way to keep this sane. So I'm the guy who owns the rental property. I just had lunch next to you in Destin, and now you've said to me, hey, I own a co-hosting business and I'd love to talk to you further. So you use the app, you put me in. Let me refresh this so it's me. And now you've got me in your system. Now we're squarely in the how do you manage this process, because you're not going to let this lead's never going to fall through the cracks. What were your options in the past? Well, you could text him and then your texts get buried. You could get busy. It is a recipe for inconsistent business growth if you don't have a place to put it where everything gets managed in one place. So what you'll see is this is now all based on our complete strategy to help you take people through the sales process start to finish. So what's happened is, not only has he entered as a contact, which can get buried and lost, and that's what most CRMs are. They're going to get put in the contact system and fade into oblivion. Well, in this case, you're now on a pipeline. So you'll see, well, that should be Scott. But again, let's go ahead and change this so it's not confusing. But because I did one thing we teach. Now, what we do, our DNA at Market My Co is helping a service-based business owner manage their entire sales process in 3 steps. So the first step was enter the contact. But the thing that we teach is that when you enter the contact, you're going to decide how qualified that prospect is. So if it's a suspect, this is the column where you say, that is a home I would like to co-host, but I know nothing about them yet, and they know nothing about me. Put them on the pipeline so you don't forget them, and then when you have time, you can go do the skip tracing information. You can do what you need to do to maybe get their attention and turn them into a prospect or lead. That's how we define suspect. How we define prospect is they've raised their hand. You've shared a lead magnet with them. They've shared their information with you, but they're not qualified. You don't know if it's a type of house you want to co-host yet. You have no idea, and you need to qualify them before you start investing your time. That's what qualified prospect is. You've gone to the trouble, and the possible lead has gone to the trouble to identify who they are and what they are. And again, for those of you who have taken Bill's co-host masterclass, you'll know Bill has some very strict criteria that he entertains, right? And if the lead does not match that criteria, Bill's like, I'm sorry, I'm not a fit. He'll refer them to somebody else. That's what a qualified prospect is. The distinction with qualified hot prospect, and this is where it gets powerful, is that once it gets to step 4, you have A, determined that it's a qualified prospect, and B, that qualified prospect has raised their hand and say, I'd like to talk to you. I'd like to schedule an appointment, which by putting it in column 4 kicks out automatically an email to Scott, the prospect, that's me. You'll see right here that says, hey, here's my schedule. Let's go ahead and schedule an appointment. And so they can go ahead and schedule appointments. So that launches the calendar, which is part of the technology, and syncs with your life calendar and gives that prospect, me, the option to book in on your calendar. So I select 1:35. I go ahead and type my name in here. I think it's going to do the right thing because I've updated the contact, but I'm not rescheduling. Okay, now I'm going to schedule the meeting. So what you're doing by going into this platform and doing it this way, where am I? Is you are tracking this prospect now, never falling through the cracks. And what it's done is schedule. So you've satisfied step 1, which is you've added the contact. Step 2 is you've completed the task of qualifying them. And step 3 is when the appointment happens, you are going to go into the appointments. I'm sorry here. And you're going to record the outcome of the appointment. So Chris, you have me as a prospect. You come into your platform at the end of the day on your app or here in the dashboard, and you hit confirm. You take it from confirmed to showed. And once you update that contact, you're going to see that prospect went from step 1, it was here because we had a schedule. It's not keeping up. It will go all the way and it will show up on step 8 as showed. So it would go all the way here and be automatically put here, which then will kick out the next email saying, hey, we need to schedule your second appointment. Because what we learned, Chris, over the past 4 months with a beta group of subscribers at Market Mastery who are also co-hosts is we designed this process, this 2-appointment sales process for co-hosts, where the first call is an introductory call. You're asking me what my ideas about co-hosting are, whether or not it's going to be a good fit. You're just going to make sure that this is the right, kind of relationship you want to build. And once that happens, you're telling them, okay, in the next call, I'm going to do a full presentation with you. I'm going to go over some things. I'm going to go over the contract with you. And then we're going to make a decision whether we want to move forward.
Yeah, I love that. I'll share an experience share from us. So early on when we were co-hosting, and as you mentioned, Bill has some specific criteria of property supposed to make so much money. But one specific thing we were missing in the early one was the vetting of the owner through a deeper conversation.
Yeah.
So we property looked good. It was through a mutual friend, which is how pretty much all the coasting for Bill specifically comes around. And we were getting through the process. We took pictures. We went there. Everything was looking good. But as we began the actual co-hosting process, we realized that his personality and Bill's personalities just weren't going to work together.
Yeah.
Bill very much, and this is something we explain very well now, which is why the 2-call system is incredible, is that, look, we're going to treat your property like it's our own property. But that means you have to give us the freedom to
Right.
do things like we would do it for our own property. If you're going to micromanage, we're not the right co-host for you. If you're gonna nitpick little things here and there, we are not the co-host for you. And that's where in this process, one, it helps keep track of everything, right? Because that's the hardest part in sales is really knowing, did I follow up? Did they not
Yeah.
follow up? Do I need to circle back with them? And specifically for this, knowing, okay, we had the first call. I'm interested, they're interested, but now I know I can look up the information. I got some information from them. I got some pain points from them. That's kind of what you do on these calls, right? You kind of extract like, where are they struggling? Where are they looking for that they need help the most? And then you're able to circle back for an actual call of, here's how I could be the solution to your problems. And if you're ready, boom, here's the contract for us to actually move into it. And so I'm loving the process. I'm sure for anyone who's not dealt with or seen really kind of pipelines or CRM tracking in this way, it's like, holy crap, it feels like there's a lot of stuff. But the reality is that the more you have, the easier it is to keep track of where you are, what's going on. And like you mentioned, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes as well. Of you pop something in, an email gets sent, a message gets sent, reminders get sent. All these things happen in the back end that are already planned, prepped, put in there for you. So you don't have to stress about that stuff. You just move them to where they need to be. And then based on how you interact, how they interact, it continues to move them down through the pipeline as you keep the conversation going.
And that leads us into that third law, that third pillar, the law of lead conversion. What we ask people to do, and we're taking people through what we call group white glove onboarding sessions. So it's going to be, you need to customize the actions in these workflows so they speak your language. They are doing what you want to do along this process. They're inviting and reinforcing the type of clients. So even during schedule first appointment, but there are other workflows. So there are email and nurturing sequences where we invite you to create a 7-day onboarding sequence. So once they get to the prospect stage, let's say they've accepted a lead magnet that you have available. Well, you may be warming them up with a sequence that's inviting them to schedule, but also reinforcing, here's a case study of one co-host client we have. And those types of things are that the lead conversion happens there. It's in those automated warm-up sequences, and that keep them moving through the process that you don't have to do. And, Bill, here you and Bill are 550, 250. That's a trick to get that done. And yet you can set your entire marketing and sales process basically on autopilot, so you can worry about the details. You can worry about the client experience. You can worry about how the property is and not have to worry about where your next lead is, because that is something you can go to with great confidence, and leads are not falling through the cracks. They are where they need to be. But when they are stale and sitting in one, it becomes obvious and you can deal with it because it's not somewhere in oblivion, and you don't have to rest your head on the pillow at night like, oh my God, I forgot to call that guy back. That will never happen again. And when I speak passion about that, it's because I've been in all those situations for the last 20 plus years. And as a business owner, you sit there and those are pain points because it's missed opportunities. And for you guys, a co-hosting client could represent 20, 30, 40 grand a year to you as the co-host. That missed opportunity is even more painful.
Yeah. And that's honestly the secret when Bill talks about the 550, 250 plan. The core component of that is with your own properties. But the reality is that not everyone has the money financially to get started, even with the first property of the plan, because you have to make a significant investment. And, everyone has different backgrounds, different histories, but this is a way. We love co-hosting so much because it's a way to use your best skill set. Some people are just natural hosts. They are personable. They love doing it. They understand that completely, but they aren't financially to a place yet without over leveraging themselves with debt. And so this is one of the ways to really help you out to make some money to then allow you the freedoms either to keep building a co-hosting company, which is fine. That's a great thing. If you want to make an income that way, it's a great way to do it. But it also allows you to then transfer, I made some income from co-hosting, let me now invest some of that income into my own portfolio as well. And then you can do what Bill does, which is he has a strong personal portfolio, it's just as strong of a co-hosting portfolio. And
Yeah.
the two together are why where you're seeing Bill mention, I think he even emailed the other day about one of the new properties he's looking at in Montana, that not that long ago, I'm talking like 2 years ago, that number wasn't even been a thought, like $3 million for a home for what we're looking for. Like, that's insanity. Yeah. But the reason that's even a consideration is because of the two parts of own portfolio and kind of the expansion of it, plus the co-hosting portfolio, allowing the freedom to be able to use that money to continue to invest and grow and expand his own portfolio as well. So this is not something I know a lot of people on here, hopefully people that watch the recording later, and I'm definitely want them to watch the full demo later. Don't think just because it may not be something you're considering now, co-hosting is such a powerful thing and a great way to build wealth in a completely different way than the ways that we've talked about most of the time. But I'm loving what I'm seeing. So they get scheduled, you go through the appointments. What happens when we get the let's sign a contract? What's the next
ideal
step?
Outcome. This is moving along this process. You get the first appointment to show, that shows up here, and then you scroll through the rest of the process. You get the second appointment to show, and here's where the magic happens. You show it here, and the outcome is fantastic, which means they want to go forward. They want to become a new co-host client of yours. Now, the beauty of this is that we allow for alternative outcomes. We want the ideal outcome, but if there is follow-up needed, you don't close them, then you put them in the follow-up needed again, so they never fall through the cracks. You're going to have a bunch of people that show up here. Nobody closes 100%, but again, it's what do I do after the second appointment shows and they haven't told me yes? Put it here and figure out your cadence for follow-up and what you're going to do to strategize to convert them to close. I personally, once they go to follow-up needed, I create an incentive to close during, and if I don't, I 90% chance that they're not going to close. That's just me. I don't know whether it's cynical or not, but I work really hard to close them on the second appointment. So that said, when they do that, that kicks into that fourth law, that law of client experience. How can we help with that? Well, what we've done here through our beta group is we've designed a pipeline for new client onboarding. So we went and we interviewed all the co-hosts in our beta group, and we talked about what are the things you need to do to get them from, I want to be a co-host, to you are now managing their property live, people are booking, you're doing everything. So we designed the pipeline, and we're supporting the pipeline by this checklist strategy. So these are all the checklists that we've designed, and they're completely customizable. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 checklists. And it's, okay, when you are in checklist number 1, have you gotten your onboarding fee yet? And you can do this here. And what we have been saying is, hey, make a new doc for every client. So this would be, if you sign me as a client, I'd be putting Scott, you'd be putting Scott Hill here. And then you'd be adding Scott Hill here, and then you'd be using this template to go through and get through your checklist so that you can onboard and get your client live. So what are you doing in the welcome phase? Did you get your onboarding fee if you have one, that type of thing? And then the property assessment, have you done your walkthroughs, contractors, inspectors, house cleaning? And we're just providing this support, Chris, so that they can eventually just use this pipeline to say, okay, here, I'm going to add me to this pipeline. So I might be already in here. Let me just refresh my screen here. Once you move it to a new client, it normally automatically goes onto this pipeline. Yeah, so that's the automation we have. And you can customize it the way you want it. But so here it is. So close client. So now it's this new onboarded client allows for, okay, the contract's been sent, which, as you know, we have contracting functionality in here so you can replace DocuSign. So here it is I'm sorry, I think it's in. Dude, there's so much stuff in here. I need Jen and so documents and contracts, sorry. So all the documents or contracts here. So you'll have your contract in here, and you'll be able to go in and you'll be able to send the contract to me. Once I sign it, our technology automatically would move it here into the contract and sign. You'll get a notification, and then you know you're ready to move on to this welcome and introduction checklist. So what we always teach inside of our platform is each of these, they are a milestone. They're an earned step or a completed step. So if they're in this one, that means you've completed the welcome and introduction checklist, and so on until you get all the way through all these checklists. And you can, if you're co-hosting business, you do things a little differently. Maybe you combine some of these items, then you could shrink this pipeline. But again, it keeps you on task. And where we have found for other businesses that we do these new client onboarding checklists is not necessarily always for your benefit as the co-host, but your team's benefit. If you have a team, you have a VA, you have an assistant, then you can monitor their progress and you both get visibility into this. We have one client who does custom homes in Arizona. The entire platform, and again, Market My Co, this is what we do for all of our clients on Market My Co, just like this. And he gets value out of this platform just for this one thing, because his two assistants monitor where the clients are along this pipeline. Have they gotten contracts? Have they gotten plans? Have they, all of it? And this is where we support that fourth law of client experience for you guys.
I think that this is one of those places where, especially going through the process, the more I love the checklist. I love each step along the way, because as you're going through the setup, that's when little things, especially you're setting up listings, you're setting up the owner res or whatever booking software you might be using. As you're going through, the process of it, that's when little things kind of slip through the cracks. You might forget, like, did we get, does this property have a pizza cutter? Like, is that something we need to order? It's those little things that I know seem so stupid, but the reality is that's the difference between the type of hosting that we do versus the type of hosting that's average in the area, and why as a co-host, we separate ourselves, because we host the co-hosted properties just like we host any of Bill's properties. They are identical to us in the way we set them up, the software, the pricing strategies, everything is exactly the same. But to do that, we have to go through and know, what's the serial number of the fridge? Because if something goes wrong, I want to know and be able to do that. Well, at some point in time, someone has to walk into that fridge and open the thing up and pull the number and write it down somewhere. And so just double checking all that stuff, what's happening. Are we getting new photos? Is the whole process through it before you're ready to really take on, okay, I am now the co-host and we're taking bookings and all of that. And I love that the pipeline isn't just a sales pipeline. The pipeline is also a onboarding and get you ready to go pipeline, because that's when we can get stuck and we can forget and little things slip through the cracks. And so it's great to see, and I hope I know it's hard for some people, because we like to see things built for us, right? We like to see like the completed process. But as you mentioned, I hope people can even think of, even for yourselves, like you can build your own pipeline for when you buy a new property. Like, did you order all the stuff? Did you get the things that you commonly need? Did you work with the cleaners? You have this entire pipeline process as well for, finding your handyman staff or finding your cleaning staff. Like, there's 1,000 ways to use Market My STR. The platform itself, besides what we've already talked about, I love this as an example, as I'm thinking it will open people's eyes a little bit to other ways to use it besides just like, oh, it does, emails and text messaging. Like, yeah, it does all that. It does it really, really well. But it also allows you to take some of the things that are thoughts or we have to remind ourselves of, and put it in a way where it's easy to track and know and follow up. And where were we with that property? Because it's easy when there's one. I have my favorite saying, I tell Bill this all the time, that and this is from when I worked at a church, that a lot of times the toughest time for a church is going from one campus to two campuses, and then that two campuses to three campuses. Yeah. Once you're pretty much at three campuses, then the sky's the limit. You're going to end up being like 5, 10, 15 campuses, depending on your vision for your area. But the 1 to 2 is so difficult because you very quickly realize, crap, the things that we did for 1 don't work when there's 2 of us. And then 2 to 3 stresses that even more, And the same thing happens for properties. A lot of things that we do, we cheat for the one property, we cheat for the one co-hosting client because it's just, well, it's just one. I can be involved. I can do this. I can do that. And when you build out systems, you want a system that's built for 5, 10, 20 co-hosting clients, not just the single one you have now, because that means that you're actually able to grow and expand. And every time you get someone new, you're not going through that process of like, well, for the last one, I did this. For the last one, it's like that. Like, no, it's already built and in there. You just follow the process, follow the checklist, and just go through it step by step to get them up and running and onboarded and ready to rock and roll. So I love seeing that part of it as well, not just the sales process part, but the actual onboarding, up and running, and get you going part as well to help you stay on track and make sure you know where you are in the process.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this is built specifically for co-hosts. This is built specifically for people who own short-term rentals, market my STRs, so that you can maximize your direct bookings. And then, if you're coming in here as a co-host, this is the first time you're hearing about us and you want to utilize, what we have for co-hosts. Well, don't forget, once they're a client, then it's the direct booking page, it's the email marketing, it's everything that stacks on top that provides additional leverage. And if I am a co-host, here's how I'm going to compete against the lazy property manager who does nothing and puts their the listing on Airbnb or VRBO and hopes for the best, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say, one, I am going to get you at least 25% direct bookings, and I am going to email your list, and I'm going to build an asset for you that if you want it, you can have it back. And I'm going to make sure that we focus on rebooking so that we can save your guests and you money. And I'm going to do all these things differently, and then go listen to what the property manager is going to do for you. I mean, it's not even a fair fight. I don't like a fair fight. I like to put all the advantages in my corner. So when I show up at the fight, it's not even fair. And that's what we're trying to do with Market My STR is we're trying to make it an unfair fight. Because business is competitive. You just said it. Like, it's a real competitive environment out there.
And the more you can put in your favor, the more pain points you can hit with your solutions, the more that you can tell your unique story, because we all have our unique stories in it, the better connections you can make. And the goal of this is to make it as easy as possible to go from lead to contract to onboarded client, in this case as a co-host. And I do want to circle back because I hope people didn't miss, because we did a shortcut of like, hey, we did I met you, I was down there eating lunch, and you were over, we had a conversation kind of thing. But you can skip trace and find people specifically. You can put them in that way. To lead to the lead magnet, we kind of quickly went over, but you had an entire nurturing sequence for when someone fills out the email, gets the 10 reasons why you should double check that your property managers actually providing services for you that are up to the snuff, that they're getting emails through that process, encouraging them to schedule the call. Just the whole process is built in a way to really maximize the ability for someone to go from how do I find people to actually getting them up and running and going. And so I hope those out there that have kind of been like, I don't know about co-hosting, like, I know that's probably honestly the most scariest part for most people is the finding side. Like, how do I find people that would be interested in my services? I think we hear it, and I know you're in the co-hosting pod, so you probably see it a lot in there of people that are like, well, where do we even kind of go? Where do we get started? And that's a great part with Market My STR for the co-hosting side, but even all the other stuff is there's so much built already where you don't have to look at a blank page like, okay, where do I go? Like, there's so many things built for hosts, built for co-hosts to get you started, going, and off to the races as quickly as possible without getting bogged down, without worrying about, what do I do? Where do I go? Like, there's so much built for you specifically for what we do that's unique to us, and not just the generic out there like we see on every other software that's just like, well, that's a sales system built for real estate, but it's for an agency where it's finding listings and properties and that kind of stuff. Like, well, yeah, that kind of works, but it's very different than what we're doing. And so that's why I love about what you do, love about your heart for this industry. It takes, I don't want to underestimate how much it takes to be able to take the crazy that we do and translate it into functional things and emails and just the whole process, and then the support side on the back side of that, make sure that that people don't just use it but are successful in using it. And everyone has questions or their own unique things, and so I
Yeah,
always
let's
commend you
touch
guys.
on that for 1 second. So
Absolutely.
if you've been through Market My SEO, we have white glove onboarding, which is an extra fee where we make sure all the water's running through the plumbing and all of the electricity turns on. If you sign up as a co-host, we have a group white glove onboarding sequence or cadence where there are 3 sessions, 1-hour sessions, where we make sure everything's up and running. We call it account activation. Then our second group white glove onboarding is called account customization, where we go into those workflows. We go rename your calendars. We go make sure that what you're saying when someone becomes a qualified hot lead, what you're going to say and what you want to say when the email comes and says, hey, it's time to schedule your appointment. We're going to help you make sure you know where those are and get those customized for you to say what you want to say. That is group white glove onboarding number 2, and that's called account customization. And then a group white glove onboarding number 3 is called account testing and account launch. So we won't let you get too far where the elephant starts to roll over on you. We're going to help you eat the elephant one bite at a time. And then what we've learned because of the beta group, what we've learned by working with other co-hosts is this is the structure, and all you really have to do is customize it.
Love that.
And I didn't even show you, based on Bill's co-hosting masterclass, we created a survey where if you do have a lead magnet, we have the lead magnet. Envision the page, like, you're going to be able to do this with your eyes closed, but there's a lead magnet page. It gets your name and email, right? And it's like the 5 things I've learned about co-hosting that every property owner should know. It says a thank you page, and at that thank you page, it says, so we can make the most of our time together. And if you are interested in furthering our conversation, complete this brief survey. And there's a 2-question survey or a 3-question survey. Every one of those questions are your criteria that would define them as a hot prospect. In Bill's case, are you a micromanager? Do you want to know about everything? If these are yes, no questions, all they have to do is answer this question. And if they answered no, guess what? They're kicked out of Bill's cycle. Bill never has to worry about that prospect again because it said no. If all 3 are yes, which is technically probably what Bill would do, he would make all 3 have to be yes, right? And if all 3 are yes, then Bill gets notified. Then it's worth Bill's time. It's worth your time. And until then, it's not. So we have gone to, we're proud of we're very proud of what we put together here, but it's those types of little details that will help you manage your life, because everybody shows up here busy. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to be additive to your life and not just make it another time-intensive thing you got to
do. Oh, I love it. I hope anyone out there who's already co-hosting or kind of in the process of it, dive in, reach out to Scott's team, watch the full demo, because we kind of barely scratched the surface of it. And really dive into it, because it's a tool built to help you find leads, close them, and then go through that process to get them up and running. For those of you who haven't considered co-hosting, I would deeply, deeply consider it. It is an amazing way to build wealth without as much risk of having the property yourself. And trust me, there are thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands probably across the country of properties, especially in those dense markets where you have the traditional property management companies, that there's the need, because they are not doing what you could do as a co-host. They're not hosting to the levels that we host. And it's why that's the gap for us as hosts, as property owners, but it's also the gap for us as co-hosts to be able to go in and help someone who's already paying 20% or more to some property management company to be able to then help them, grow their own portfolio, grow their properties, and then you get a piece of that by co-hosting and making them more money and make yourself more money in the process. So it's a win-win for everyone, especially for those who haven't had it.
You can also keep the dreams of American families alive and not let them turn into nightmares, where someone achieves their lifelong dream of buying a second home in a location where they want to be, realize how hard it is to turn that into a rental property, and they're just not cut out for it. And now their dream of a vacation home is quickly turning into a nightmare, and you come in and rescue them from it. That's just a powerful thing, because it's a big investment, and all that is we only got one life. It's a big deal. So,
Scott, I just want to thank you. Thank you for keep building incredible stuff for our community and for the world of hosts and co-hosts out there. Thank you all for watching. If you haven't already, please hop over to Markham STR, check it out, but also check out the demo. There's a bunch of other demos on there too for those of you who haven't dove into it to kind of really see the power of the platform before you even get into it. I'd love to have you guys check that out. And I'll put a special plug as well, because Scott did too, for the coaching masterclass. They really do go hand in hand. The platform and what Scott's built really helps you go through the process with coaching masterclasses. How do you go about the actual co-hosting side of what co-hosting is? That's why we built it as an opportunity. So don't be afraid to go down that path as well. So, but thank you, Scott. Thank you all for being here with us. Long one today, but I think it was important to be able to dive deep into what we want to talk about. And Bill may not be on. I think Bill's actually on vacation next week. So, but I'll be on next week for another Marketing Monday, and hope to see you guys there. Thank you guys again for watching, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Thank you, Chris.